All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fellow Pandemonium travelers, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown Day 117, I believe. And the chop is canceled. It's over. It's done. Everybody go home. Party's over. They went in this morning about, 6 a.m.-ish, and just started rousting everybody and moving them out. Game over. Now, about 18 hours ago, yours truly tweeted out, at some point, they're just gonna have to go in and bite the PR bullet and just go in there and clear the place out with bulldozers. They're just gonna have to go in. It's gonna look ugly. It's gonna look mean. But hey, if you're Mayor Durkin right now, basically everyone hates you. The protesters hate you. They think you're a fascist. The people who live near the chop or in the chop think that you're useless, or think that you don't care about them. And the rest of the world thinks that this is an absurd farce, okay? If you're police chief best, you gotta do something. And they did. You gotta go in there, and you might have to rough some people up, and you get them out of there. Where they go after that, I don't know. They go to some other neighborhood and try to take that over. I don't know. Because I don't know what these people actually want. And my understanding is, local black leaders decoupled from this thing weeks ago. They're like, yeah, this has nothing to do, I've said this again a million times, this doesn't have anything to do with Black Lives Mattering and police and what we're doing as a society. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just some weird moment that people committed to making this moment happen. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But in any event, the chop is canceled. So what now? Well, this is, again, it's the same thing. I touched on this, I think, in a couple of previous videos, right? What are we doing? I mean, it's like the broadest, most sort of unhelpful question ever. I mean, it's just, what are we doing? So, I've been over this before. The issues around defunding the police, the legitimacy of the idea, how it actually works to do that, and, contrasting law enforcement with something like what they call threat management, which is a non-law enforcement means of instilling order in a community that doesn't create the negative policing encounters that lead to the police killing citizenry. Something like that, right? Or the police having, again, these negative policing interactions, these negative events where the people at least feel as though they're being targeted, harassed, threatened by law enforcement rather than protected. Now, how to change that around? Again, it might mean defunding the police. It might mean reappropriating their budget into other things that helps prevent crime on the front end. Again, I'm trying to be as open-minded and charitable to this concept as I can, because it's a little radical for a lot of people. Our paradigm, especially as Americans, but this is true the world over, I think, is law enforcement is just it's a necessity for civil order, right? And for the civil functioning of society. Is it, though? Well, we're gonna kind of find out. I mean, the tragedy is the way that these things play out, right? So, Minneapolis, right? They disbanded their city police department. Okay, done, closed, canceled, bye. All right. And then what happens? Private security details were appointed to protect all the members of the city council. And, again, it would be great to not have our police frightening people, threatening people, getting into these horrible situations where people hate them, they hate the people they're policing, they accidentally kill people, maybe they intentionally kill people. It kind of, you know, like the Chauvin thing, it's sort of, you can put intention on that. You know what I mean? You could say you knew you were killing him and you didn't stop, you meant to kill him. So to correct that was what all of this was supposed to be about. Not socialism, not Green New Deals, not reparations, not any of this other stuff. It was supposed to be about Black Lives Mattering and changing policing so that they don't, again, have these negative interactions with law enforcement that lead to all these negative outcomes. Now, again, I can get there with alternatives and solutions and, you know, like threat management and private security and police reforms, etc., etc. I can get there. The problem I have is, like Minneapolis. I have to look it up again. Minneapolis. I think there's two N's, right? Minneapolis. Anyway. What's going to happen is more like what you're seeing there. It's like, oh yeah, there's no more police. We did what you asked. We got rid of the police. Oh, okay, well, so who do we call if I see somebody murdering someone in the street? Does that become my responsibility to stop them from doing that? Like, can I call someone to come and stop that person from murdering that other person? Well, I assume in reality it is going to just fall onto like the county sheriffs and stuff like that, right? And maybe state patrol? I don't know. I mean, people are still going to call for help. Now you just don't have a city law enforcement, you know, apparatus in place to respond the way that a city responds to its own problems. You now have more like county and, you know, state and everything. Thank you. How does it actually look? How does it actually go down? That's, again, I believe there is a way to do this. There is a way to transition to what's honestly a little, again, I've mentioned this before, it's a little snow crash, it's a little future dystopia kind of thing. But if it works better than what our current system is, then fine, it works better, right? We just transition to this new thing, and it works better, presumably, maybe. We're going to find out. And we will, we'll see how this goes. But again, like this is my issue. This is my, prediction is that maybe some cities and localities will do it right. And they'll do a good job, and they'll implement a system that works, and everything's going to be fine. Call it fine, quote unquote fine. It'll at least remain the same, if not become worse. But there are other places that already have all kinds of dysfunctional policies, like Seattle, and they will not do it right. They will do something terrible that will be, the funding will be rife with, fraud and waste and abuse, and the result for the public, again, the taxpayer, which is really what's supposed to be kind of at the bottom of all this, the taxpayer will not be served by this new scheme, this new plan. They're just going to take money from law enforcement, put it over here, and then it's going to get wasted and abused over there. People will be underserviced, people will be less safe, and you will have spikes in crime and predation. And again, property crimes, etc., drug use, okay, whatever. I'm kind of like on board with the ending the war on drugs, which does apparently disproportionately affect black people. I'm just saying. But it's how they implement it and how terrible the policy is going to be. Because look at what their policies already are or were. And again, I'll be a bit glib. What's happening here is Democrat-run cities are bad at policing themselves. Now, am I including black people by saying, like, they are also the Democrats in these cities? Sure. They're not all Democrats, though. A lot of them don't really like Democrats. They just think that Democrats are a better option than Republicans. As though, and again, maybe there's no real difference between these different political parties. It's totally fine to, critique that and nitpick that stuff all day long. But Democrats are bad at policing themselves, or they're bad at policing black people. And so the policies that they've put in place as a city that affect, how do you put it, that are in place for law enforcement, you're now going to have policies in place by not law enforcement, and then everything's going to be fine. That's the idea. Again, I just don't know, man. I just don't know. Like, again, before all of this upheaval, before coronavirus, Seattle was already a falling star. Like, it was getting bad, and everyone was becoming very acutely aware of how bad it had become. And, I have family members who are like, yeah, last time we were there, it was just tent cities, and we're not really ever going to go back. That means they're not going to be here buying stuff from shops. They're not going to be, going to restaurants. They're not going to be staying at hotels. They're not going to be doing all the things that tourists would do and spending money here. And that's on top of all the other chaos of COVID and now the, George Floyd upheaval and all this other stuff. So the city was dysfunctional before this. Now everything is just dialed up to not even 11, and we're dialed up to like 15 now. And now we're going to institute sweeping reforms. We're going to appropriate our budget, which is what New York City's doing, and that's really probably not going to go as well as everyone thinks. And we're just going to take all this money, shift it over here, and then the problems are going to go away. It's a big ask, and I don't have any faith in our local institutions to actually execute this correctly and give us meaningful reform that will actually be beneficial to the people. I just don't think that's going to play out that way. And we're going to see, because I feel like with the mayor cracking down on the CHOP this morning, I assume it was like her call, because, the police chief doesn't just make her own decisions like that. I assume that the mayor made that decision. The mayor will now cave on something else in order to try to save favor with the protesters, who, again, hate her guts. They don't like you, Jen. So she'll cave on that, I assume, in order to try to save face. I guess we're going to see what happens. Maybe I was joking about running for mayor. Maybe not. If you tell me I should, maybe I will. We'll do a recall election or something. All right. That's enough from me for one day. Bye.